Alright y'all, so this is my camera rig. Kind of kills the pointless of being light and mirrorless, but the bigger the gigs I get and the bigger the budgets, it just doesn't look right or feel right or work out right when you just have like a camera and a little gimbal. So what I've learned so far from having a camera rig is that, yeah, having a gimbal is like a necessity, but most of my past gigs have mostly been this, and then maybe 5% of the gimbal. We think of gimbals as being like a way to make it look really cinematic, but I mean, it's all about story. It's all about lighting and all that. Again, gimbal should be a tool, not like a necessity. But yeah, so this is my whole shoulder rig setup. One thing is you see a lot of shoulder rigs where people's, their hand grips are out here and their arms are just chilling like this the whole time. That doesn't make sense. That's gonna kill your arm muscles throughout the day. So as you can see, my arms are tucked up in here. I can still do my follow focus from over here. One thing I like about this grip is I could switch that up and use that as another point of contact, or flip it up this way and use it as a little extra point of contact for when I'm doing my follow focus. For manual and autofocus, I actually use autofocus a lot. When it's on the gimbal, of course, I put it into automatic focus. Usually autofocus can do it, but if there's any point where there's going to be hunting or I need to make sure the focus is locked 100%, where I can't cut around it, I will put it in manual mode. I'm just using the kit lens, the 18 to 55, and it's actually really good for filming because it's not insanely sharp, but it's sharp. It's like the perfect amount of sharp. The contrast on it isn't super good for photos, but for video, the contrast is perfect. The autofocus and it's stabilized and everything, but the autofocus is great on these cameras. But again, when you're filming and you're paying thousands of dollars per gig, you need to make sure your focus is on point and that there's no like weird hunting. Even though a lot of people don't realize when that's happening, or if it's like a clips that you could cut around, then it's not that big of a deal. But again, if you need to have your focus on point, then you need to make sure you're going to manual focus. I have a focus gear in here. It's 15 bucks. I think it's a 65 millimeter diameter. I'll put a link in the description about all this stuff. But yeah, that just goes right around the lens. And then the follow focus gear connects straight to that. So you can see from right there how everything connects up right there. But yeah, you can just like grab the lens and manual focus, but if you're wide, your finger might get in the shot. You don't want to get close to the lens. Just putting a hand up there is like, it's not the most stable thing. So having this whole follow focus setup helps tremendously. So, and then if you look above that, I have a black Promess filter. So again, with this lens, it's the perfect amount of sharpness, but still there's too much clarity to these cameras. They look too good in my opinion. So the black Promess, it kind of adds a little bit of a haze to the highlights. Kind of gives it like a bloomy filmic look. And then above that, let me put this forward. Above that is an ND filter, a variable. So this thing was about 50 or 60 bucks. And the way I have both of these filters set up is they're both 77 millimeter diameters. And then I have step down rings, so I can switch in between different lenses if I need to. When this is down and I'm running gunning and I'm just trying to get the shot, I will just lift this back and I will twist it from there without trying to touch the glass, obviously. So next comes the matte box. So originally when I got the matte box, the whole point was so I get NDs and slide them in and everything, but I couldn't find affordable options. Like they're all like hundreds of dollars, and I'm like, I mean, my rig doesn't look like it's on a budget, but this was built on a budget. We'll go over the price and everything towards the end. But yeah, the matte box, it helps from like flares and everything. Like if I want flares in a shot, I'll purposely get the flares. But when you're trying to shoot something and there's some light haze and it's killing your contrast and it's killing the continuity between different shots, that becomes a problem. So I used to love more of the haze, but I'm learning that the haze is more of a dynamic range thing and not like this bloomy effect during the whole video. Because again, you lose sharpness when it's getting hazy like that. So, and on top of that, it just looks really cool. I mean, Again, the whole reason that like I originally switched to the whole Fuji system as a photographer was it inspired me to shoot more, not just because of the aesthetic of it, but the way it felt in my hand. So having a matte box, again, that's another aspect of it. You might think that's dumb. For me, it gets the job done. It gets me out to want to shoot. And when I'm getting paid $1,000 on a gig, I want to be in my director, filmmaker mode, you know? Going back from that, we have the small rig cage. I tried to go the cheap route and get one out of China. Took forever to get here. By the time I got here, it just didn't fit that well. So, small rig's the way to go. They're definitely worth what their cost, because again, everyone knows who small rig is, so there's tons of parts that you could connect to it, and the small rig themselves have a grip of parts that you can connect to it. From there, we just have a strong arm right here going into my monitor. This monitor, I have it pretty tight, but it's just loose enough to where I can pivot it up. So if I'm trying to get a low shot, I can just carry it through like this. And you see that this rig's heavy enough and it's pretty balanced to where you pick it up right there by just like 2 fingers, and it's not really dipping forward or backwards. But yeah, again, so I'm using this, and yeah, I can switch it up and it helps me keep my view on everything. And then when it's back on my shoulder, I just have it right here, and it's right next to here, because I like to use the screen on the back of the camera as well to monitor, to reference back and forth, just to make sure it's 100% accurate. And yeah, and the monitor itself is the FieldWorld Master A6, I think, something like that. Again, I'll put the link in there. Latency is not really an issue. It's like it's very minimal. Colors fairly on point. There's kind of a magenta cast to this one. I don't know if it's just this one or all of them are like that. But to me, I'm not really trying to reference color. Again, I have the original screen because that's the most accurate way to do it for me. And I'm in F-Log, so I try to keep everything pretty neutral. I keep everything in daylight mode. For the white balance, and the tint I don't mess with. So no matter if I'm going inside or if I'm outside, I keep it because I want whatever the light looks like in there, I want it to look natural, unless I'm manipulating the light and I need to change the white balance then. But otherwise, I want to try to shoot it as natural as it looks in person. On that, I just have like one of those Sony FPS or whatever they're called batteries on there. So last 3 things, this whole shoulder rig is one of those like newer, that's what they're called, newer, I don't know how to say the name. That's the brand of the small rig. So a lot of people look down on it. They think it's like for like amateurs and stuff, but it gets the job done. It's good quality. Everything's metal. There's no plastic on it. I don't see why people look down on cheaper gear. If it works, it works, you know, it gets the job done. From there, we have the Anker PD something battery. It's like one of their bigger batteries that just connects to USB 3 into the camera, straight into the side. The reason I went with this instead of the V-mount is a lot of the times I will take off this shoulder mount. So if I'm in a kind of a tight area that I need to film and this doesn't need to be on my shoulder, I will just take the shoulder mount off. I will raise these arms back. Get that one done. And now I just have my handheld rig. Love having a shoulder rig. I see a lot of people who are building these rigs and they don't have any shoulder mounts because it's kind of ugly, but I don't see how you're like filming whole things like this. Like they say it's because they like it at this point, but I don't know, having it on the shoulder just helps a lot more. But again, it's about 50-50 the way I use it. I go back and forth, so having that little shoulder mount helps tremendously. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot how I mounted this battery. I bought a dozen, like a pack of dozen black rubber wrist straps. Yeah, it's going around the arm, and it's just holding the battery in. It's pretty damn solid in there. Like I've thrown this in the dirt and everything, and it holds up just fine. So the last thing, it's a little thing, but it's very important. You see on the shoulder rig here, I have this little thing strapped on here, and in there is a little pocket tool. So this thing helps out a lot. There's like a little screwdriver, a little flathead in there, Phillips, pocket knife, opens up to pliers. So having something like this is like a hardcore necessity. Even this little thing, like if I have to keep using it, I can just whip it around and put it on my belt clip. Easily take out the Phillips screwdriver, and I can screw in all my little 1/4-inch bolts and everything in there, and I can also just use this guy too. I actually use this a lot more. Yeah, this is a hardcore necessity. If you're trying to do any filmmaking or photography, you should have something like this in your toolkit. Yeah guys, so that is my whole filming rig. I used to think that these weren't a necessity and I thought it was all for show, but the bigger the gigs I start to get for video, the more I realize I can't be showing up with just a little camera and a little cage. And after I built this out and I used it, I was like, this actually helps out a lot for a lot of different things. Like, again, you wouldn't think so, but it really does. And it just makes you a little more confident in your mindset. Again, that whole gear aspect of having better gear will make you better, blah, blah. I hate that, but having the proper tools helps. And I think it's kind of sexy to look at, you know? Check it out. I dig it. But yeah, guys, if you have any other questions, let me know. I will put links to all of the stuff inside the description of this video, so you can check it all out. If you have any tips on like something I should maybe change or some future things I'm gonna get, I know I definitely want an electric viewfinder. I actually don't love using a monitor. I'd rather just have an eye cup up to my eye so I could really like get into the shots. Possibly the Atmos Ninja recorder, so I could do ProRes. I love working in ProRes. I hate how big the ProRes files are, but they're just way easier to edit on a Mac than the H.265 Kodak. I don't use H.264 on this thing at all. It's not worth it. Go straight to H.265, the 10-bit. It's amazing. It's beautiful. That's why one of like the main video features of this thing that makes it worth it. And the F-Log. F-Log's so gorgeous, guys. Like the highlight roll-off. If you color grade it correctly, like you can make it look like Arri Alexa footage. I mean, close to it. It's not gonna look as good as Arri Alexa, obviously, but you get pretty close to it for a $1,500 camera. But yeah, now I'm rambling on. So yeah, guys, let me know again if you have any questions, any advice, whatever you think I need. Shoot down a comment. Yeah, peace.